Hello and welcome to another inside look at the Asa family. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Miss Molly's Hotel. Hello, my name's Weldon Trantham and I will be your host as we talk about Miss Molly's. But before we get too far into Miss Molly's, let's talk a little history about Fort Worth, where Miss Molly's is located. The city of Fort Worth was originally founded in 1849 as a fort to protect settlers from Indians. Now, just a few short years later, in the 1850s, the fort was abandoned and settlers took over the fort, making it a settlement. Now, early calculation of the population of Fort Worth stated that it was around 5,000 people. When the Civil War broke out, the city of Fort Worth was pretty well decimated. After the Civil War, we were down to a population of about 175 people. Now fast forward almost 30 years, and in 1902, we started having bigger corporations come out. You had Swift and Armor that came out. You had other companies that came out and opened here in Fort Worth. And our population boomed to about 70,000 people. And Fort Worth became the key part of travel for cattle drives from Texas up to Abilene, Kansas. An old section of Fort Worth, which is known as the Stockyards, tries to hold on to that history as much as possible. There's actually two main streets that run through the Stockyards. One of them is Main Street, which runs the whole length of the Stockyard, and the other one is Exchange. Main Street runs north and south, and Exchange runs east and west. You have the Stockyards Hotel, which is where your cattle barons and your cattle owners would stay during their trip to Fort Worth. There's other places that were just made that the nicer area of the Stockyards for the more well-to-do at the time. Now, on the east side of Exchange, you had other saloons and bars, and you had lower-end hotels and brothels, and that became the area more associated with the ranch hands. Now, Miss Molly's is located on the west side of Exchange. It was an upstairs hotel opened in 1910. Intended to be a hotel that opened in 1910. Shortly thereafter became a brothel. Now there are several ghost stories that are associated with Miss Molly's, having everything to do with some of the ladies that worked there and some of the people that actually visited there. Now, you can actually rent a room at Miss Molly's and stay there yourself, and I actually have stayed there a few times. It's quite an interesting place. They try to keep the inside of it looking as old and nostalgic as possible. But they also have the ghost stories that is what drew me to the location. Some of the stories include people waking up and seeing women at the end of their bed. Some of the stories are if you set your phone in a certain area, it'll get moved to a different location when you wake up. So two of the stories that I remember the most were shared with me from Miss Paula, who was the caretaker at the time. One of them was about a cowboy, dark silhouette of a man. She said he was very tall, had a duster on, had a hat on, and she said she could just make out every detail about it. And the person looked like a real person standing there, and she was trying to get his attention, and he walked across the hotel into one of the rooms and shut the door behind him. And she went over knocking on the door because she thought this was somebody that just walked into her hotel without checking in or anything. So she went over, was knocking on the door, eventually got the door open. All the lights were on in the room and nobody was in there. One of the other stories was of a journalist or some sort of journalist that had come to stay at the hotel for a night, and in the middle of the night he woke up with a woman at the end of his bed. Now, according to his story, he could not sleep the rest of the night. And it wasn't because he was so scared. In his eyes, this was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life. And he was waiting for her to appear again. There are also a couple of stories tied to a couple of kids that were there. More than likely, these were the kids of some of the prostitutes that worked Miss Molly's. I know one of the children died at a very young age due to some childhood illness. And supposedly you can hear them talking and giggling and all sorts of childhood noises that you would hear from children at play. From a paranormal investigator standpoint, I like the idea of doing Miss Molly's, setting up the cameras and everything. My biggest issue is that Miss Molly's is on the top floor. There's a cafe right below Miss Molly's, and then right below that is the basement bar. The basement bar is open till 2 a.m. So if you're going to do an investigation at Miss Molly's, you would have to wait until almost 3 a.m. before you could even start your investigation, due to any of the sound that you may get from the basement bar. Nevertheless, even with this, with ruling out some of the sound quality or sound recordings that you would get because of the basement bar, I still think that it would be a very intriguing place to investigate. Miss Molly's Hotel is definitely worth a check out. You can actually still rent rooms there today and go stay for yourself and kind of get a feel for the place. It's very nice. It's a nice little getaway. Definitely worth the check out. Thanks for checking out my video. If you like it, please hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to see more like this, you'll see some that are coming out. If you didn't like the video, leave a thumbs down. If you want to leave a comment, please leave a comment below. If you want to know more about ASAP, you want to donate to ASAP, or you want to become a member of ASAP, please check out our website at asupinc.org. Thanks for checking out my video. See y'all next time.